The year is 2008. Looking back to the previous year to 2007 was when Apple released the then unknown iPhone. And at the time, the big players such as Blackberry and Nokia didn't really see it as a threat at all, but they would then quickly come to change their minds and would come to scramble a release of their own competitor to the iPhone after realizing that yes, it was a threat to their companies. Nokia's being the N97 and Blackberry's, which was what we're going to cover today, the Blackberry Storm. It was to be a smartphone of many firsts, but sadly that would be its main downfall. I hope you guys enjoy and stick around for this video because it's going to be an interesting ride. Enjoy. Now, a super quick disclaimer, I was originally going to mainly focus on the Storm 1, like the first phone that was meant to compete with the iPhone, but the problem is it's regarded as the world's worst phone ever built, and I kind of see why, because I have two models that I bought and both of them broke immediately. Like the touchscreen here, it does not work, so we'll compare both, although we'll mainly focus on the much better Storm 2 model, which is actually a pretty good phone. It's crazy how much they improved on it, so let's go. And specifications wise is where things start to get interesting. They follow as such. The Storm 1 is equipped with 128 MB of RAM, whereas the Storm 2 has a healthy 256. It doesn't sound like that much more, but it makes the Storm 2 much more smooth. And to my knowledge, both phones also have the same CPU, a Snapdragon ARM 11 clocked around 500 or so MHz, not even a full gigahertz. Both devices have a 3.2 megapixel camera, with autofocus and even image stabilization, which is pretty rare for its time, although optics wise, a Storm 2 seems to be better per my testing. Both devices also have 3G, no 4G. And the big thing is the screen tech, with the Storm 1 featuring an utterly horrible button under the screen to simulate a real button press. The Storm 2 features a device much more similar to a MacBook's trackpad with the solid-state haptics to simulate a button press without anything actually moving. It's pretty cool, and I'll talk more about this later. Stick around. Now, as this isn't really a testing in 2024 video like the previous video, you don't really want to use this device in 2024, I still wanted to see how I could browse the web. And using a version of Opera Mini from 2014, we surprisingly got by pretty well. Now, you have to keep in mind to be loading only simpler sites like stuff like Gmail, news websites and whatnot all work pretty well. And it's surprising, Opera Mini, I'm not sure if the servers are still up for the browser, but there's never any certificate errors no matter what site you load. There'll be rendering errors because it's an old browser from 2014, but there's never any certificate errors, so if you really want to mess around and daily drive this because you're crazy like me, then use Opera Mini. 8. Decent browser. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 rating, why not? But any super detailed website, forget about it. Next up, we tried to test YouTube, and that was through our JTube client. And in our previous video, modern Blackberries from 2011, it can run it perfectly fine, but on this older Blackberry from 2009, the 2 years different or so, it can't do it. Sometimes it's server issues, but when the servers are running, the issue is that the codec isn't right. Like, I don't know why it can't do this certain type of MP4s that YouTube videos are made in, but it only has sound go through, no video. So YouTube is a no-go. It basically is just like a glorified music player at this point. So it's kind of sad, but you can see it here. Music only, no video. Next up, for my most favorite part of the video, the camera test. I've always loved photography, so I'll let you guys quickly sit back, relax, and enjoy. Now, it's not as cold as last time in our last video, but it's still really damn cold. Like maybe -5 or so. We're gonna do something that we're gonna probably regret right here. It's clearly a good idea, because I think the whole slide is like wet basically. Oh god! Wait, what if we go down on our shoes instead? Oh god.
perfect. There's like a huge thing of machinery over there as well. Can this thing zoom in? Nope, once again this thing can't zoom in. But yeah, weird test. People probably think I'm insane if they're looking out their windows. I have no clue if the camera's actually picking this up pretty well, but these are some of the biggest flakes I've ever seen. It's so pretty out. I swear every time I hear someone open a door, I get so self-conscious. People are going to be like, what the hell is that person doing? Jesus.
The button. Yes, this is what it looks like underneath the horrible Storm 1, like underneath the screen. To physically simulate like you're actually pressing a button, they just put like a horrible button in the middle, like not even on the four corners, just in the middle. So when you press the top of the screen, it just felt so horribly mushy. And take a look at the screen flex even. It's horrible. I don't know how this thing passed, like, quality inspection. It's regarded as the world's worst phone ever, and you can kind of tell why, because even the whole screen wiggles. But on the other hand, the next phone they made, the Storm 2, it fixed almost all of that. As I mentioned that earlier in the video, it used solid state electric sensors almost, kind of like the MacBook trackpads I use today, where it actually doesn't move, but it just feels like it's moving. And it was so much better, but it was too little too late for Blackberry's image. Now, although Blackberry obviously went on to make phones for years and years after this, I just think it burnt their image at this point. The Storm 1 was really the phone that put a dent in their image, and it's a shame because a lot of good phones came out after. I just think a lot of people jumped ship at this point. The Storm 2 was a really fun one, and take a look at this little bit, I guess you could call it ASMR, but me typing on the Storm 2. It's actually kind of fun to type on. And yeah, that was the Blackberry Storm line of devices. It's kind of sad to look back on, looking at a company that was at its peak and didn't think anything could break it, and then a certain other phone came along. Well, I guess two lines of phones. Technically, iOS, Android, maybe even Windows Phone, because that lasted up until 2017, so three big players came onto the scene, and it took Blackberry down, sadly. Although, they lived on for a while. They even made some Android phones, but it didn't really work out for them, sadly. Overall, though, it's a great device. The Storm 2, not the 1. The Storm 2 is a good one. The Storm 1 is horrible. But yeah, it's a good collector's item, looking back on. And I'd like to know what you guys think. Maybe some of you owned a phone back in the day. Let me know your just memories of the device. How did it work for you? And I hope you guys enjoyed this little history lesson, review, whatever you want to call it. I hope you have a great day, night, evening, or whatever time it is for you, and have a good one. Fennec out. Stick around for my Nokia video. Nokia!